two hands hold each other.
Do you remember your high school social studies classes?
Yes.
Yes, in particular, I remember I really liked the format of my U.S. government class.
Yes.
Kind of. It's been a while.
Yes, I do.
Yes, even though I vaguely remember, but I do remember my professor was really interactive about the learning, and that we learned a lot about the history.
Yes and no. The only reason why I remember one class was my AP history class, and that was because he was actually the main one that taught us something about history.
What do you remember about these classes? They will go, well, they're usually okay, you need to read this, or do go over the chapter and answer the questions, pretty much from the textbook. I remember that. It didn't seem too hard. I remember my teacher from 10th grade, he was more hard on us, we had to learn the material. It wasn't but the rest of my other teachers were pretty lenient.
I remember I had really good teachers. I remember really well world history, and then I took U.S. history. They're both AP courses, so it was just a lot of reading and going over I guess they would teach lessons in class. But yeah, I found it interesting.
I remember they would be really time consuming with the reading that I have to study for. Also, the exams are really in detail because it was a AP course, but it did prepare me for a lot in the future.
I remember, I think the thing that stuck most in my memory was one time when we made a video on certain battles throughout history, and we just went outside and we dressed up as certain lieutenants and other main actors within the battle. So I just I said I thought it was very interactive, and yeah, I think that's my biggest memory.
We would get readings, and we would have to do outlines, and there was very specific things that we would have to do for that class, and we would be told before we got readings what were the important topics and what issues we should focus on, and how to properly do an outline to study well.
So, when you said they were boring, but do you think that the classes were taught in an interesting manner, or they made the material interesting or appealing?
Some of the course material over history was interesting. There would be some dull times because history is not the best subject in my opinion, but some of the storylines would be pretty fun to learn about.
I would say yes. In world history, I took that sophomore year. We had to do projects and presentations, and so I chose to do the Aztec civilization, and I got to make a model of a pyramid.
And then, was the material taught in a way that was made relevant to your daily life?
No, I wouldn't say it was. I remember having to memorize the preamble, and that's not really relevant, I don't think, or useful in everyday life.
Well, since I said no, that I don't remember classes, they weren't really beneficial to me, just because of the fact that there's sometimes things that I honestly could not relate to, just because it's more a Eurocentric viewpoint that we get taught in high school, and basically in schools in America, I would say, they're more, and even the books that we were talking about, there was not many representation of Latino history or Black history, or just marginalized communities within the textbooks.
What is one thing you wish your social studies teacher would have done differently?
I wish he would have been a little bit more interactive with us, because it was kind of just talking and things like that. He wouldn't call call on people a lot. So I think if he would have called on people, it would have given them more incentive to read the chapters on time and meet the deadlines and stuff like that. So I think just being more interactive with students.
Perhaps like I felt maybe sometimes it was like too rushed, but I don't know if that's because like the way lesson plans were. But maybe if we like would have dedicated more time to each like specific topic, like have like a more structured timeline, that would have helped, because sometimes I felt we went over topics really quickly, even though it was fun and like it stayed in my head. But I just think like if we had more time, if that was better planned out, they would have helped.
I think like engage the students, have like active participation from students, keep them engaged and ask what they think about certain things to make the class more interesting for actually students who want to engage in the studies and actually learn more about it and what's outside of the school, the things that happen outside of school that can correlate to social studies. I wish the teacher could have done that.
I would just say that a social studies class most people find pretty boring unless they're really into it. So like I think interaction is good for the people that are very social, but there also should be the part like where you do like studying on your own. Maybe have like for the people that are more like introverts, have like also the part of the class where you do work like on your own. It's not all just interactive in group.
Maybe overall, I'd probably say for teachers just to be excited about the material they want to teach, even though it is like history. But just, I guess, what helped me was like when we stepped in the classroom, whatever lesson we were going about, it felt like we were actually there. Like if we were going over Jamestown and colonies or Civil War, the Civil Rights Movement, assassinations of presidents, or Reconstruction, or just like, you know, the Vietnam War, just like anything, like he would relate it and bring that into class, and like we actually felt like we were learning that lesson.
Well, because I have taken a lot of applied learning development classes, I wish they would have used the diversity in the classroom towards like their material, because it was just like, well, that's history and this is, I don't know, it wasn't relevant to us. I think I would have maybe talked about like current issues that are going on, like tie them in.
Show them how bad you really want this. Oh, yeah. It's not as hard as it may seem. No, no. You gotta work to get the cream on your own. You must sing from your fears. You have to wean yourself. It's all or nothing. Give your everything. Are what you believe. You got to bring the heat. Set the pace. Competition, take the lead. This is it. All eyes on you. So stay on point and prove that you deserve